My father, Sir Harold Whitmore, was a true man of the land. His hands, though often hidden beneath sturdy leather gloves, bore the rough calluses of a lifetime, dedicated to nurturing the vast Whitmore estate, a sprawling property that had belonged to our family for generations. He was a gentleman of unwavering integrity. His word was his bond, stronger than any contract or seal. When my dear mother passed away after a long illness, leaving a void in our hearts that seemed impossible to fill, Father took my hand in his voice steady despite the tears in his eyes. "Ellanena," he said softly, "this land, with all its rich history and bright future, is yours. I promise you that." Those words became my guiding light, anchoring me through the difficult years that lay ahead. Life on the estate had always been a blend of tradition and simple joys. The manor house stood proudly atop a gentle hill, surrounded by rolling green fields, ancient oak trees, and a vineyard that produced the finest wines in the county. As a child, I would run through the gardens, helping Father tend to the soil or pick grapes during harvest season. Mother had loved her rose bushes, planting them with care along the winding paths, their blooms filling the air with sweet scents each summer. But after her passing, Father grew lonely, his once vibrant spirit dimmed by grief. That's when Camila entered our lives, like a sudden storm cloud on a clear day. Camila was a woman of striking beauty and polished charm. Her smile sparkled like diamonds, and her words were always carefully chosen, wrapping around you like a warm shawl. She had come from the bustling city, with tales of grand parties and exotic travels that fascinated Father in his vulnerable state. He saw her as a beacon of hope, a chance to rediscover joy. But I, with the keen eyes of a daughter who knew her father well, noticed the subtle glint of calculation in her gaze. It was as if she were always one step ahead, plotting her next move like a chess master. At first, the changes were small and seemingly innocent. Camila suggested replacing Mother's cherished rose bushes with imported exotic orchids, claiming they would bring a touch of modern elegance to the estate. The vibrant reds and pinks of the roses gave way to the strange, delicate petals of flowers that seemed out of place. On our English soil, they wilted quickly in the cool winds, a sign, I thought, that they didn't belong. Then she began overseeing the household staff, those loyal souls who had served our family for decades. Whispers spread among them. A maid dismissed for a minor oversight. A gardener reprimanded for not aligning the hedges perfectly. Camila's influence grew like ivy, creeping into every corner of our home. Father and Camila married in a quiet ceremony under the old oak tree in the garden. I stood by, forcing a smile, hoping this new chapter would bring him happiness. But as months turned into years, I watched Father's health decline. He spent more time in his study, poring over ledgers, his once strong frame growing frail. Camila was always at his side, her voice soothing as she handled more and more of the estate's affairs. "Let me take care of this, darling," she'd say, and he'd nod wearily, trusting her completely. The fateful day came in early spring, when Father passed away peacefully in his sleep. The world lost its color that morning. The manor, usually alive with the sounds of birdsong and laughter from the staff, fell into a heavy, chilling silence. The funeral was a somber affair, attended by friends, family, and local dignitaries who had known Father for years. I wept openly for the man who had been my world, my teacher, my protector, my hero. Camila, dressed in a perfectly tailored black Chanel suit, appeared more like a guest at a formal event than a grieving widow. Her composure was icy, her eyes darting to the influential guests rather than resting on the coffin. It struck me as odd, but grief clouds the mind, and I pushed the thought aside. A week later, she summoned me to the drawing room, a space that had once been filled with Mother's gentle presence. Her portrait, a beautiful oil painting capturing her warm smile, had been removed and replaced with a stark, abstract modern piece that Camila had commissioned from a trendy artist in London. The room felt cold and unfamiliar. "Ellanena," Camila began, her voice as smooth as the silk of her dress. "I'm afraid I have some difficult news. Your father left everything to me in his will. The estate, the investments, even the family dogs." Her words hit me like a physical blow, knocking the breath from my lungs. A smug smile played on her lips, twisting the knife deeper. "But he promised me the vineyard," I whispered, my voice trembling with shock and betrayal. "He said it would always be mine. The entire estate. It's my legacy." "Promises aren't legally binding, darling," she cooed, her eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "A will, however, is the final word. It's all settled now." I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Father was a man who cherished tradition and family legacy above all. He would never have disinherited me completely, handing over his life's work to a woman who treated the estate like nothing, more than a glittering status symbol. Driven by desperation and a flicker of hope, I began my search. I wandered the manor for days, my hands tracing the familiar patterns of the wallpaper, my mind replaying every conversation we'd shared about the land. Late one night, as I sat in the wine cellar, a dimly lit sanctuary where Father had often retreated for peace, I recalled a cryptic comment he'd made just months before his death. Some of life's most valuable treasures are hidden in plain sight. Ellanena, he'd said with a knowing wink. Inspired, I examined the cellar more closely. Behind an ancient, cobweb-covered bottle rack, I discovered a false wall panel. My heart raced as I pried it open, revealing a hidden drawer. Inside lay a sealed envelope, crisp and white, with my name written in Father's elegant, firm handwriting, to be opened only by Ellanena Whitmore. With shaking hands, I tore it open. There, in clear and concise terms, was a new will, signed and dated just a month before his passing. I leave the Whitmore estate and all associated assets to my beloved daughter, Ellanena Whitmore, it read. My wife Camila shall receive a modest stipend, conditional upon her good conduct. The stipend was generous enough to ensure her comfort, but it paled in comparison to the vast wealth she had anticipated. Armed with this truth, I marched into the office of Mr. Attenbury, our family solicitor who had known Father for over 40 years. His face turned pale as he read the document, his glasses slipping down his nose. My God, he whispered, comparing it to the will Camila had presented. This is the real one. The other, it's typed, unsigned, and dated earlier. It's a forgery, plain as day. The court case that followed became a spectacle, drawing attention from newspapers and curious onlookers across the county. Camila arrived each day radiating icy confidence, flanked by a team of sharp-witted lawyers in expensive suits. She glanced at me with condescending pity as if to say, poor girl, you can't possibly win against me. But she hadn't counted on the power of truth and evidence. I testified about Father's promise, his character, and the hidden will. Forensic experts analyzed the signatures, confirming without a doubt that the document I'd found was authentic. The witnesses, our trusted groundskeeper, Mr. Jenkins, who had tended the gardens since I was a toddler, and the longtime housekeeper, Mrs. Ellis, who had baked Father's favorite scones for decades, stepped forward to corroborate their roles in signing the real will. As the evidence mounted, Camila's composure began to crack. Her perfectly manicured hands, still adorned with Mother's heirloom rings, trembled visibly. The judge, a stern man known for his keen eye in spotting deceit, watched her with an unwavering stare. Whispers filled the courtroom as details emerged. How Camila had pressured Father in his weakened state. How the forged will had been crafted to mimic his wishes but twist them in her favor. In the end, her house of cards came tumbling down. The verdict was swift and absolute. The entire estate was returned to me, the rightful heir. Camila was stripped of her ill-gotten gains, her title as Lady of the Manor, her lavish allowance, and her claim to our home. She was left with a meager settlement, just enough for a small flat in London, and a quiet life far from the glamour she craved. The aftermath was bittersweet. Camila's lawyers distanced themselves. Her so-called friends in high society vanished like mist in the morning sun, and the headlines delivered the final blow. Lady Camila, from champagne toasts to courtroom shame. She slunk away, a shadow of her former self, a reminder that deceit carries its own heavy price. With the estate finally and truly mine, I set about restoring it to its former glory. The exotic orchids were gently removed, and Mother's rose bushes were replanted with care, their thorns a symbol of resilience. The manor filled once more with warmth and life, laughter from the staff, the aroma of fresh-baked bread from the kitchen, and the buzz of bees in the gardens, honoring Father's unspoken dreams. I transformed part of the grounds into a charity-funded retreat for orphans, a place where children without families could find solace, education, and hope. Workshops on gardening, storytelling sessions under the oaks, and even a small library, stocked with Father's favorite books. It all came together, as a living tribute to his legacy. Every time I walk through the halls, I feel his presence, his pride swelling like the vines in the vineyard. Camila had tried to erase me from my own bloodline, to steal not just my inheritance but my very identity. But in the end, her schemes unraveled, proving that patience, truth, and love endure. In the long, complicated game of inheritance and family bonds, honesty always prevails, casting a light that banishes even the longest shadows.